Hello, and welcome to another episode of Bare Bones Wargaming, a show with no bells, no whistles, no frills, just a man, a camera, and his game. On this episode, we're going to start looking at a new game, because if you saw my note to the last video, you know that my little man, which I nickname him at times Xanderzilla, he came through, and yeah, he came through. I brought him down down here to the man cave for a few minutes to grab something off the shelf. Thought he was occupied with his little Scout. If you have kids, you know what I'm talking about, that leapfrog little stuffed dog that sings and does stuff. And while I was turning around grabbing something off the shelf, I look back and I hear this little giggle, and he's got fistfuls of Polish and German units in his little hands. So he thought it was funny. You know, no harm, no foul, no damage done. But other than I need to make sure I keep an eye on him because he's getting faster, stronger, quicker, and his reach is becoming very, very far. So, but hey, he grabbed the counters. This is a good sign. He was interested in them. So I look at it that way. I take the positive. So, but again, I think I gave everybody a pretty good feel of that game. I'll probably revisit that topic here once I finally, hopefully sometime in the near future, get my copy of No Retreat, the Polish and French fronts from GMT. Still waiting on my P500 order. I ordered, well, 3 of the games they're shipping I ordered. Skies Over the Reich, Hitler's Reich, and the Polish and French fronts. I haven't got any yet. Not one. I haven't got a shipping notice, so sorry. As Dennis Miller would say, didn't mean to get off on a rant there, but yeah. So anyway, I hope to revisit that topic once I get that game, because I do enjoy the No Retreat system. Although I've enjoyed it more in Russia than North Africa or Italy. And I have pre-ordered Western Front too, because I'm curious to see how that'll play. I'm not a big World War II Western Front kind of guy, so never has been a huge interest of mine. Which brings me to today's topic, this episode's topic, which is one of my favorite games of all, and I think the finest Pacific theater operational game ever made, World War II wise. I know some of you might nominate Flat Top, but this one is the one for me, and that is Carrier, the Southwest Pacific campaign, designed by John Southard, I believe, if I remember correctly, is the designer of this. Yes. This game is awesome. I love this game. I've always been, there's 2 topics that I've always loved, and I think I mentioned this before, is Pacific Theater, World War II, like the first couple years of the war, 41-43, and interestingly enough, the Eastern Front, first couple years, 41-43. So this game, when I finally found out about it and finally tracked it down, which was no small feat, just blew my mind. This to me is the epitome of a carrier warfare game. Just my humble opinion, but I love this game. This game here that I have set up right now. This is going to be my 31st play of this game in, I don't remember how many years I've owned this now, but probably like the last 5 to 6 years, I'd say. So I've kind of come home, so to speak. And along that same vein, I've been looking at Mark Herman's Pacific War, which came out in the, I want to say the mid-'80s from Victory Games, because I've been looking for a campaign game to play about climbing the ladder. Now that's a phrase I used on Board Game Geek that a lot of people didn't know, they hadn't heard before, and they were kind of puzzled, which is interesting because I thought it was a commonplace phrase. So a couple other people heard it from other things, but I heard it from the Time Life Island Fighting book that came out in the, I think it was late 70s that came out, that particular book. But anyway, it refers to going up. Well, here. It refers to moving up the ladder. This was called the ladder, moving up towards Rabaul, the big Japanese fortress that they captured from Australia early in the Second World War. I believe Australia and Rabaul. I could be wrong about that. As much as I've enjoyed carrier warfare history, I haven't got really deep into it, except the last couple of years. I've been trying to read more and more books like Shattered Sword. What else have I read recently? I read War Plan War and some other things too. Right now I'm reading Black Shoe Carrier Admiral, which is what has brought me to this game. Real quick here, before we get immersed in the game, one of the reasons I love this game is, well, a couple of reasons. First, it is a complex game at first, but it's like Squad Leader. It's programmed. So when you first start to learn the game, like here in the rulebook, you know, there's a handful of pages. And then, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 pages, and then you've got scenario number 1, which just focuses on learning that first batch of rules. And then you just keep building and building and building. So another thing I like about the game is the fact that you can either do a completely hypothetical confrontation, there's a scenario generator, or you can fight any of the major naval engagements, Coral Sea, Eastern Solomon, Santa Cruz, that went on here. You can also use the system to fight Midway. You just pretty much have nothing on the map to do that with. And yes, there is a final countdown for those of you who've seen that movie. There's a final countdown scenario in this. There's also one in the Fires of Midway. I've never tried either one. I've watched the final countdown a couple of times. Very disappointed in the end. But yeah, so that's in here too. So I love that. And it's nice because it's set up in chunks. And when you get the whole picture, it's just awesome. It is so cool. Okay. So let me just give you a quick rundown here, what's going on. And part of the reason I decided to shoot this first video, because I'm not going to shoot you know, this continuously. This would take forever. This is a long game. That's no joke. But it is a fun game. It is definitely worth it. So right now, my situation is scenarios taking place between October and December. I'm just picking December 10th arbitrarily, 1942. And our situation is the Japanese are after Guadalcanal. And you can see all these red markers out here are possible forces. And if you look over here, these white ones, these are my 2 task forces that I've kind of set up here in these 2 spots. This might be a little tricky. I may have made a mistake setting up those forces there, but we'll worry about that later. I did have a plan. I'll explain it to you, but it may not have been the best plan. But again, that's part of the reason to play these games is to try stuff. You know, I mean, again, I'm no great strategist. I'm just trying to have fun and try different things out and play with history. So right now, all those red markers are possible forces, but I don't know. Are they for real? Is somebody giving me a bad reporting? Are they shadows? Is it a coral reef? You know, what could it be? Because remember, 1942, even throughout the Pacific War, reporting ships and stuff was kind of a mixed bag on things. You know, for those of you who know about the Coral Sea, you know, scratch one flat top, you know, they thought they got a really big one, and it turned out to be one of the CVLs, or the Japanese thought, I think they reported it as an aircraft carrier when it was really an oiler. You know, all kinds of crazy stuff that sometimes goes on with that. So right now, that's my situation here. We're just getting ready to open the first turn. Down here in these boxes, let me move you here, and we'll zoom in a little bit. I've got my task force groups here. I've got one task force built around the Saratoga and Lexington, and another one around the Hornet. And then over here are the actual carriers themselves and all the planes and where they're at. Right now I'm getting ready to launch Dauntless dive bombers to go do some scouting. And I also have planes over on, let me move you, Guadalcanal itself, but the fuel is limited, so you kind of have to watch how you're using your fuel. To be honest, most of the time I don't use my planes at Guadalcanal for attack. I use them for scouting purposes because it's just, to me, it just makes more sense to do that. That's just my personal opinion, my personal preference. That's just how I handle it. So, I mean, you know, everybody can do their different things. And again, we play these games to try different strategies and different ideas. Okay, so let's just follow along here with the sequence of play. Okay, I've rolled for the Japanese mission move. Now I'll explain what that means here in a minute. And now it's time to draw from the cup. So let's see what we draw. Now, there are variant rules to this. One of the variant rules I always use is in the cup here that tells you which forces to activate when. There's supposed to be 5 blank counters. I always play with the PBY planes. And the reason I always play with the PBY planes is they did play a big role in the Pacific Theater, locating things, scouting things and stuff. So I always use them because, again, I think it's important to use them. Does it make the game a little easier? That depends. If you're lucky, yeah. If your PBY starts locating things and can report things, yeah, it does. But may not. You know, it really depends. So we're going to get ready to draw a counter here. And in order to do that, let me zoom in, zero in. Let me zoom in up here. Ooh, there we go. Now you see that die there. I use the die because it's just easier to spot. This is the mission movement die roll. This is going to tell us what direction to move when we move Japanese surface units. And of course, there's different directional things on the map to show that. So I'll show you that whenever I actually pull a marker here in a second. But there's lots of charts and things across the top that tells you, the Japanese forces, what to do with them, how to move them. It's all laid out really, really nice and it does feel like this game. That's the other thing. This game feels like playing a person. It really does. It's uncanny what the level of AI is here. Even versus, again, in my humble opinion, even versus like a computer program. It's phenomenal. It's amazing. So with the mission movement, there are numbers on the track that tells you how many markers to pull for each phase. There are 4 phases to each turn. Each turn lasts roughly an hour and a half. So here with the Japanese, with the forces in play, I'm sorry, I misspoke. The forces in play are what tells you how many markers to pull. I've got triple 4s. So for each phase, I'm going to pull 4 markers out of the cup and resolve them. So here we go. First marker is C4. Okay, so let's find C4 on the map. C4 is the first marker. Where is C4? Ollie, ollie, oxen free. Oh, it's one of the ones that's close to me. Okay, so let's zoom in on this. All right. Now, again, everything is laid out here very nicely on the card about what to do, how to handle it, that kind of thing. Let's back out a little bit because I want you to be able to see kind of the big picture in this portion of the map. Okay, so first thing we do is we resolve the air attack procedure because this could be a carrier force for all I know. I don't know what's there. So we got to go through the air attack procedure. So with the air attack procedure, let me find the right chart. That's the one thing about this game is there is a boatload of tables that you'll basically get used to see what's going on and stuff like that. All right. So the carrier air attack table, we got to find out if there's going to be any kind of airstrike here. Okay. So it's early in the game, very early in the game, but again, they're very close to me. And look how many hexes away they are. That's I may have been a bit too bold here, but hey, it's part of the fun. All right, fortune favors the brave, doesn't it? Supposedly. So we look down the chart here, and we're going to see what we get. Now, there's a bunch of die roll modifiers because it is very early, but all right. So +4 turns 1, 2, and 3 to range of 5 or greater hexes. Ouch! But I've got a problem. 1, 2, 3. I'm only 4 hexes away. Oh no, this may turn out to be a disaster right off the bat. I may have got caught. Alright. So there, I'm not going to get the modifier. Yikes. That's a little worrisome. Alright, let's see what we're going to get here. Because I don't have strategic surprise. Don't have an advantage. Yep. Yeesh. Yep. Early turns here. Because, of course, early in the morning planes are flying out. The chances of them finding each other are kind of difficult at best. But, this is not good for me. I will not get that +4 modifier. Yeah, I will not get the +4 modifier. Yikes. Alright. So let's see what we get here. Okay. Ooh, I think I'm going to get my first break here of the game because, yeah, I think I'm going to get my first break of the game. I'm just checking the one symbol here because I was always terrible at math. I'm not going to lie to you. I know some people were always like when they meet me and stuff, they're like, you don't like math and yet you love to play chess. You used to play tournament chess. Yeah, but I never saw the geometry. I'll be completely honest about it all. Yeah, I just didn't. So I did. Oh, I jumped the gun. I knew I was doing something wrong. All right, so I got to draw a chip from the cup. This is what happens when you don't play a game for a while. But again, hopefully you won't do this whenever you play this game. So let me see here first. I'll save my die roll. Alright, what did I find? Okay, it is a dummy chit. Okay, now, it is a dummy chit, so all that really means for that is that there's no airstrike. You don't go any further. There is no other steps to do here, so I didn't even need that die roll with that. So, again, like with most solitaire games, the best thing to do is, you know, when you first pull it back out again and when you're first learning it, keep the rule book right by you and go through each one. So I apologize for that mistake. But yes, you pull the marker first, okay? And again, anything else, there's no air attack, even a dummy chip, but I don't remove the force. We'll talk about that later, so to speak, with that. Okay, now if I had rolled it, there was a 10, was a die roll, which means there would have been no strike anyway, because there would have been no eligible targets within range. Okay, so now I got to move the force 1 hex. Now, the mission movement die roll is a 5, and let me go up here and let me zero in here. So if you look up here, you can see there is that little compass looking thing. Okay, and it gives you numbers and tells you basically which direction to move things. Okay, so the C and the T, the C is for a combat force, the T is for transports, because of course the Japanese were trying to reinforce Guadalcanal. If you know anything about the campaign, there's a lot going on with that right now, or at that time with that. So the mission movement die roll is a 5, which means now this force is actually going to move 1 hex towards the west. And if you notice here, I think you can see them on this. Can you see? No, you can't see them. Let me back up. Whoops. Again, I went in. You can see, like here, you can see like there are different areas, and each area has its own charts, and there's different charts for different objectives too, because in this game the Japanese could be going after the New Hebrides. They could also be going after Port Moresbury as well too, or if you're playing the historical scenario, of course, Coral Sea, that's exactly where they're headed to. So, force C4 is going to move 1 hex this way. So, which is bad for me, because if I'd had search planes in the air, I could have been searching for them right now because they moved. But unfortunately for me, no dice, as they say in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Okay, move advantage marker. Nope, nothing to do with that. Decrease detection shit. There's none of that going on right now. Search during the Japanese move. I don't have any planes up yet. Okay, so we don't have to worry about any of that. So that's the first chit marker. So that shit is done. Sorry about that. That was pretty bad, I know. Alright, second one. Remember, we draw 4. The second marker is... blank. Nobody home. Not to sound like the old match game, for those of you old enough to remember that. My sister's so bad at playing her saxophone, it sounds like a blank. No, we're not doing that. Third marker. Huh, look at that. It's another blank. Yeah, you can see how well loved this game is. See how bad that's beaten up? I love it. I got this game used too, so it appears that the previous owner loved it just as much as I did. Alright, last marker for the opening phase. From the IGN side, anyway. Oh, it's another combat force. This one is C11. So, C11 is what we've got going on here. Okay. So where is C11? Ah, C11 is up here. It's at, and I'll probably mispronounce this here. I swear, when I used to be a teacher, I always thought to myself, I could probably make a bunch of money by like making a book that teaches you how to pronounce location names of all kinds of different places in history and stuff. Never did do that though. Still should. Don't be stealing my idea. Alright, so we're up here at Bougainville, I think is how you pronounce this. Okay, and now we're going to see what this C11 does. Now, first of all, we don't have to worry about the airstrike procedure, and here's why. See all these light-colored hexes? This is water that's too shallow for an aircraft carrier task force to operate in. So there's no way that can be a carrier task force. That's the good news. So I know also that this down here, this, I mean, it's a transport force. But if it was a sea force, I know that it couldn't be a combat, or it couldn't be a carrier force either. Which, again, I mean, you know, it's logical. Of course you would know that if you were doing that. Okay, so now we move the force 1 hex. Now, this one here does not have a red direction compass thing there. That's because these guys, their destination is going to be moving towards Guadalcanal, towards Henderson Field down here, where they can bombard. Let me get this, make sure that we're getting this okay. Yeah, down here at Henderson Field. Where is Guadalcanal? There it is, down here at Henderson Field. That's going to be their objective. Okay. Now, the one thing that does limit the Japanese movement is air power sources. As you get your search planes up, if they're within range of an air power source, they will not advance except with a die roll. You have to basically see here. Okay. Now, that's 8 hexes of range is what that is. But these orange dots here, which I think you can see, yep, that's the limit. So they don't have to worry about that. So what they're going to do is move one more hex towards their destination. Okay? No advantage marker, decrease chit detection. Now we do have to do that because this force actually started off with a level 1 surface. So we got to check to see if we decrease detection. And so I don't make a mistake like I did the last time. I am going to look that up. And by the way, this rule book, look at that index. That index is detailed. That is an awesome index. Love it. So that's section 12. So let me make sure I get the die roll right here. Okay. And again, when you get familiar with the game, there's lots of cards for it, just like any other solitaire game, you know, like Target for Today or the Hunters or anything like that. But this is, I mean, like the Hunters and Target for Today, I would rate them on complexity like maybe a 4, maybe a 5. This on complexity is a 10. But again, don't let that spook you off if you're looking at this game, because it's not as tough as it seems at times with what you're doing here. Okay, with that sort of thing. So, where on earth did this come from? I don't know where that came from. It came off my finger, I guess, when I put my hand down. Okay, get a little sticky down here. All right, so detection. Let's see. Detection status. Reducing. Here we go. Okay. All right. All right. If detective force face up, the time is activated. It's not been searched. It's reduced down to another one. But see, I'm pretty sure that there's an intelligence table level here too with that. Here we go, intelligence level decrease. This is what I'm after here. Okay, so because we're at intelligence level here. So actually detection is whenever it's been found by US planes. But what I'm looking for here is actually intelligence level. Okay, so I'm going to roll a die. Alright, on a roll of 1 or a 2, there's an increase. Let's see, where am I? Where is that here? Level chits may decrease to 0. Okay. End of each game turn. Okay, so actually that doesn't have anything to do with that. That's the intelligence level. This is detection. So I was confusing the two things there. Sorry about that. So don't have to worry about that. There's no search because I don't have any planes in the air. Okay, and that is the end of the Japanese segment because we have pulled 4 units. Okay, now the U.S. time. Okay, so let's focus in here on the carrier operations. And then what I'm going to do is end this video, and then I'll come back when things start to get sporty. Although things could have got sporty if I'd have pulled a level 1 or a carrier force out of that cup a little bit ago. Alright, so air movement. I don't have anything in the air yet. Okay, air operations step. First thing we're going to do is do our launches. Okay, now there is over here a nice little table that tells you what you can do, what you can raise and lower, how many steps you can do that, because the air units are expressed in steps here. So I've got planes ready on the deck of Saratoga and Lexington. I'm going to launch both of them, and I'm going to send them out on a search to see if they can find anybody. Now the only bad thing is they're only going to be able to come out at 0 to 3 range. Okay. All right. So that was 4 steps worth of things. Okay. Now I do want to, well, let's go through things here. I'm not raising anybody. I don't have anything ready to come up. Service, nothing to service. Well, actually, yeah, I would want to service some things if I want to get them in the air. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to take 2 Wildcats from each carrier, and I'm going to get them into the servicing bay here, so that way I can get them up on the deck and get them on cap, because obviously what just happened last time, I'm going to need it, because there is another force, C-10, that's lurking not too far away. Although they may be, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. They're only 5 hexes away, too. Yikes. Okay, whew. Alright, lower. Now, I don't have anything to lower. Nobody's on my flight deck ready. Okay, land units in the landing boxes. These are guys coming back to the carrier. There's nobody there yet. Okay, increase time off markers for units in the landing box. If you got these guys circling the carrier. Okay, move strikes to the landing box. Nope, don't have to do that right now. Task force movement step. Now, I could backpedal with one of my task forces here if I want to, but you know what? I'm going to leave task force 18 where it is. What I am going to do is I'm going to move task force 16 forward, because I believe I can move one this time. And again, that's up here on the chart as well too, as far as what I can and can't move. And yeah, okay, I can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and bring them up, but you only can move them once per turn for the task force. Okay, air search step. Now we're going to come back to this box here, and I'm going to basically put them in the used one, so they can go ahead and search. And then what they'll do is they'll continue to move across here and start to search further and further away at this point in time. Okay. Now, here, only 1, 2, 3 hexes away. I mean, I guess I could have moved the Terrier Task Force forward. I should have probably done that. Whew, I'm not having a good day on this game, am I? I should have. Here, I'll show you what I mean. Let me come back out here, and I'll show you what I'm babbling about. So up here, with Task Force 18, if I'd have moved Task Force 18 forward 1, 2, 3, would have been 3 hexes away from that C4. I could have searched it right now. So that was a blunder on my part. Hopefully it doesn't cost me and my boys. We'll see. Yeah, Tim Korchnoi, Carrier Admiral. Yeah, maybe not. Okay. Airstrike step. I don't have any airstrikes in the air. Carrier repair step. I don't have that either. Okay. Now, I do have units at Guadalcanal too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and launch them. And each step costs you fuel, though, to launch from Guadalcanal. So I'll need to go ahead and eliminate, or I should say reduce, my apologies. I will reduce that by 1/2 for each step. So I just launched 4 steps. So that's going to cost me 2 points of fuel, taking me down to 14. So, but again, I have found in past games that having planes searching from Guadalcanal is a big help. It's a huge help to have as well. So, I think I just made another mistake too with my searching too. One thing about searches is you want to keep them overlapping, and I think that's what I should have done. I should have put up another SBD unit to keep the searches overlapping. I should have held off on the fighters, but it's, well, you know what? I made my decision. I'll see if my guys can find anything, because having your searches overlap is important for keeping contact with the enemy. Let's put it that way. So, if you notice from this game, even with the mistakes I've made here, you really do feel like the Carrier Admiral. You really got to plan this out. You know, this is not a narrative game by any stretch of the imagination. This is not, you know, Target for Today, Hunters, I consider more narrative games, because there's a few critical decisions to make. And granted, you know, how many critical decisions can you make when you're the submarine commander? You know, you tell other people to do things and they take care of things. But here, there is a lot of things to think about as far as launching, moving your things around. What do you go after? I mean, right now, if I had wanted to, I could have just launched some planes. I could have launched those dive bombers and just sent them after those 2 task forces that are within range and just go there. Now, of course, there could have been nothing. It could have been, you know, a reef. It could have been some reflection of light or something. It could have been Zippo. It could have been a fishing boat or something. So I decided not to do that because I haven't searched yet. I haven't found anything. So, so I better get on the hump here. I'm going to get relieved by the Naval Command if I don't get a move on, because that's just, yeah, whoo, that's not good. So, end of phase 1, not so good for Admiral Korchnoi. But, you know, hey. Okay, so hopefully this gets your feet wet with this and gives you an idea. Like I said, I'll come back and I'll shoot another video once I get a few more turns under the belt here, once things start to get a little sporty. I may even come back just whenever I'm either within range of launching a strike on the Japanese, or the Japanese are coming at me, so that way you can see how a strike works, that sort of thing as well. And also, you know, if there's a lot of ships within range to be searched, those kind of things. So again, you know, I can show you the mechanics because that's basically the point, is to give you a feel of the game, how it works, how it functions, all those kind of good stuff there. So, okay, so this has been Admiral Tim Korchnoi, who's groping about in the dark here very badly here to start this game. Yeah. Okay. Hopefully I won't pay for my mistakes too bad, but you never know. This system is unforgiving though too. You know, if you make some bad mistakes, you can get crushed for it. So let's hope that other Japanese force, C-10, is not a carrier force, because if it is, I could be in big trouble here later on during the, what turn is this? This is the opening turn, the 0520 turn, way in the early in the morning. Yeah, what's the 0 stand for? Oh my God, is it early? So, be back next episode to show you some more of this awesome game called Carrier. So this is Tim Korchnoi from Bare Bones Wargaming saying thanks for watching, and if you know the High Command, don't report me to Admiral Nimitz or King to get me relieved just yet. Give me a chance to kind of redeem myself here with this very sloppy opening phase of the first turn. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time when things get sporty in the South Pacific.